I still can't believe it. For so long, we lived under the shadow of oppression, but today, justice has spoken. God truly fights for his people.
It was not just a legal battle. It was a spiritual one. Mr. Desmond thought his wealth could buy everything, but he forgot that there is a judge above all judges, God himself.
Indeed, my children, the Lord neither sleeps nor slumbers. He sees every injustice, and he lifts the humble while bringing down the proud. Nebuchadnezzar once thought he was untouchable, but God humbled him. Mr. Desmond is no different.
You both are living testimonies that righteousness and courage will always triumph over wickedness. But let this experience be more than just a victory. Use it as a platform to help others who are suffering under oppression. When you are still being silenced by fear and power, your story can inspire them to stand up for justice.
Good evening, esteemed viewers. We are delighted to welcome you back to Animation for part 2 of this powerful video titled Why You Should Not Use Your Wealth to Oppress the Weak. In the previous episode, we shared a touching story about a wealthy man whom God had abundantly blessed. However, instead of using his riches to help others, he chose to use his power to oppress the weak. But what happened to him in the end? Did he escape the consequences of his actions? In this video, we will reveal the outcome of his choices, backed by biblical truth. Before we begin, we want to sincerely thank all our viewers for your immense support. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions mean a lot to us. We are deeply touched by your love for this channel, and we continue to pray that God will bless and uplift you. If you are new here, we invite you to hit the subscribe button and become part of this great mission of spreading the gospel through animation. Now, stay tuned as we dive into the video. Sorry about that. That man is something else. I once had an encounter with him, and I tell you, he is the most pompous person I have ever met. He treats people like they are nothing and expects everyone to bow before him. Really? I have never seen him before, I admitted. But from what you are saying, he must be a very difficult person to deal with. Difficult is an understatement. He is outright rude. He wants every man in this town to be answerable to him. If you don't greet him first or show him respect, he can make life unbearable for you. That is terrible. How can a man think he is above everyone else? Wealth is supposed to be a blessing, not a tool for oppression. Have you heard that Anita's husband is in police custody? And do you know why? Just because he did not greet that man. What? That is absurd. How can someone be arrested for not greeting another person? It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Even the police officers are afraid of him. They said they cannot release Anita's husband until the man gives them the order. This is total wickedness. So even the law enforcers are under his control. What kind of society is this where the rich dictate justice? If you see Anita, she is completely broken. She has lost weight, and you can see the pain in her eyes. She has gone everywhere, begging for her husband's release, but no one dares to challenge the man. This is exactly what the Bible warns us about, those who use their wealth and power to oppress others. Proverbs 14:31 says, "Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God." Yes. But you see, these kinds of people don't believe that their power is temporary. They think they can do whatever they want forever. They forget what happened to King Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 4. He was proud, thinking he was greater than everyone, but God humbled him. And look at Pharaoh in Exodus. He oppressed the Israelites, thinking no one could challenge him. But in the end, he perished in the Red Sea. When God rises to defend the weak, no amount of wealth or influence can save the oppressor. That is why I keep telling people not to envy the wicked. Psalm 37, 1-2 says, "Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass they will soon wither, like green plants they will soon die away." The man may think he is powerful now, but God will surely judge him. And what makes it even worse is that the poor have nowhere to turn. If even the police fear him, who will fight for justice? God is the defender of the weak. Ecclesiastes 5:8 reminds us that even though injustice prevails on earth, there is a higher authority that sees all. We must continue to pray that God intervenes. Yes, may God help us, the weak. But what can we do for Anita? She must be feeling so hopeless right now. We can visit her, encourage her, and pray with her. The Bible tells us in Galatians 6:2 to carry each other's burdens. She needs people to stand with her in faith. That is true. Let us not just talk about it. Let us act. James 2:15-16 warns against merely speaking words of encouragement without taking action. If we can support Anita in any way, we must do it. Yes. And we must also be careful never to allow power or money to corrupt us. If God blesses us, we should use it to uplift others, not oppress them. Indeed. Jesus himself said in Matthew 23:11, "The greatest among you will be your servant." True leadership and wealth should be used to serve, not control. We must pray for this town and for God to deliver the oppressed. Yes, let's go. And as we do, let's pray for God's justice to prevail. Daniel, life has been so difficult since you were arrested. Everything has changed. I feel like I am carrying the weight of the world alone.
Have they agreed to grant me bail? He asked, hoping that there was finally good news.
Even the police are afraid of this man. I am bitter. They said they cannot release you until they receive an order from above. No one wants to challenge him.
So, the law only works for the rich? Is there no justice left in this world? But God is watching. No wickedness goes unnoticed by him.
I keep reminding myself of that, but it has been so hard. I barely have enough to feed Victor, and people are too afraid to help us. They fear this man's wrath.
How is my son? I know he must be asking for me.
Victor asks about you every single day. He keeps saying, "Where is my daddy?" He cries at night, refusing to sleep without you.
I feel so helpless. How can a man's pride and arrogance cause so much pain to an innocent family?
Honey, there is something else, she said. This man summoned me to his house.
For what? I am sensing something terrible.
He told me that if I agree to spend 8 nights in his house, he will ensure your release.
What? That is unthinkable. What did you tell him?
Over my dead body. I declared. I told him I would rather suffer than commit such evil. It is wickedness of the highest order, and I will not sell my soul to a man.
Anita, you are a woman of virtue. Proverbs 31:30 says, "Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." I thank God for giving me a wife like you.
Honey, I believe God will fight for us. He will not let the wicked prevail forever. Psalm 146:7 says, "He upholds the cause of the oppressed and gives food to the hungry." The Lord sets prisoners free. Your suffering will not be in vain.
Yes, Anita. The Bible tells us in Psalm 37:1-2, "Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass they will soon wither, like green plants they will soon die away." This man may think he is untouchable, but his time will come.
I keep thinking about Haman in the book of Esther. He oppressed God's people, but in the end, he was hanged on the very gallows he prepared for Mordecai. Esther 7:10. The same will happen to this man.
Yes, just like Pharaoh. He enslaved the Israelites, believing his power was greater than God's, but in the end, he drowned in the Red Sea. Exodus 14:28. No oppressor escapes the judgment of God.
We must keep trusting in the Lord. Even when things seem hopeless, God is still working. Psalm 34:19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." He will not abandon us.
I will not lose hope. I will pray like Paul and Silas when they were in prison. When they worshipped, the prison doors opened. Acts 16:25-26. I know that one day, my chains will be broken, and I will walk out of here a free man.
And when the day comes, we will testify of God's goodness. The enemy will not have the last say over our lives.
Stay strong, my love. Do not give in to fear. Our God is mighty to save.
I will keep fighting for your release, but most of all, I will keep trusting in the Lord. Justice will prevail.
Lord, you are our defender. Fight for us, and let your justice be seen.
Sir, I have come again to ask that you give the order for my husband's release. It has been days, and I see no offense he has committed. Keeping an innocent man in a police cell without cause is unjust. Please, let him go.
Ah, Anita, you have spoken like a woman who dearly loves her husband. I can see your desperation, and that is why I am willing to give you one last opportunity to help him. Spend 7 nights with me, and your husband will be free. Not only that, but I will also give you one of my houses and a car. Your life will change forever.
Sir, I love my husband, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will make me yield to your offer at the expense of my marriage. My integrity is not for sale.
Come now, Anita. Be reasonable. Look at your life. You are struggling. Your husband is rotting in a cell. You and your son have no help. Why continue suffering when I am offering you an easy way out?
Suffering is better than selling my soul. What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Mark 8:36. You may think you are powerful, but no man is above God's judgment.
God? You think God will come down from heaven to save your husband? Be wise, Anita. You are alone in this battle.
No, I am not alone. My God will fight for me, just as he fought for the Israelites. You remind me of King Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible. He was a mighty ruler who thought no one could challenge his authority. He oppressed the weak, just as you do. But do you know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? Because of his pride, God humbled him. He lost his kingdom and became like a wild animal, eating grass for 7 years. Daniel 4:31-33. That is what happens to men who think they are above God.
Enough of your nonsense, woman. I don't care about your Bible stories. I make the rules here, and you will either submit to my terms or suffer the consequences.
You may have power now, but it will not last forever. Just as Nebuchadnezzar fell, so will you. You sit on this throne of wealth, believing you control lives, but God is watching. I would rather die than compromise my faith in my marriage.
Get out of my house. Since you refuse to accept my offer, forget about ever seeing your husband again.
I may walk out of your house, but I will not walk out in defeat. You have declared war against God's people, and he never loses battles. Mark my words, your downfall is near. And when you fall, remember this conversation. Remember that you had a chance to choose righteousness, but you refused. May God have mercy on you.
God? You think God will come down from heaven to save your husband? Be wise, Anita. You are alone in this battle. Nonsense.
Pastor, I have never experienced such wickedness in my life. I went to see Mr. Desmond today, hoping to plead for my husband's release. I thought perhaps he would listen to reason, but I was wrong. That man is not just rich. He is ruthless. Instead of showing mercy, he made an ungodly proposal, one that shook me to my core.
What did he say, my daughter? Speak freely. Do not be afraid to share your burden.
Pastor, he looked me in the eye and told me that my husband would never leave that cell unless I agreed to spend 7 nights with him. 7 nights in his house. He even tried to tempt me with material things. He promised me a house and a car if I accepted his wicked deal. Can you imagine? He believes that money can buy everything, even a woman's dignity and faith.
Anita, what you are facing is the test of the enemy. Satan has always sought to corrupt the righteous by offering them worldly pleasures. He tried it with Jesus in the wilderness, offering him the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship. Matthew 4:8-10. But just as Jesus rejected him, so must you. Tell me, Anita, did you accept his offer? Did you waver under the weight of this trial?
Pastor, over my dead body. I would rather live in suffering than sell my soul for comfort. I love my husband, and I fear God far more than I fear any man. I told Mr. Desmond that my integrity is not for sale, and that no amount of wealth or power can make me betray my faith or my marriage. I reminded him of King Nebuchadnezzar, how God humbled him when he became too proud. I warned him that his power will not last forever, but he laughed at me. He called me a fool and threw me out of his house like I was nothing.
My daughter, you have done well. You have stood firm in the face of temptation, and the Lord is pleased with you. Many have fallen for far less, but you refuse to compromise. Because of that, I tell you this, God will fight for you. The God of justice, who neither sleeps nor slumbers, will rise on your behalf. Psalm 121:4. This battle is no longer yours, but the Lord's. 2 Chronicles 20:15.
But Pastor, what do we do now? The police are under his control. He has bought them all, and they fear him more than the law. How can we fight back?
Anita, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 24:1. No man, no matter how rich or powerful, can stand against God's will. We will not fight this battle alone. I have a friend, a lawyer who is not only skilled in law but also strong in faith. He fears God, not men, and he will take up this case. By the special grace of God, we will file a lawsuit, and we will expose this injustice for what it is.
A lawyer. Do you think we have a chance, Pastor? Do you think justice can be served?
With God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26. You have done your part by standing strong. Now, let us do ours. We will not let evil triumph. We will take legal action, and trust me, Anita, God will make a way where there seems to be none.
The matter has been taken to court. Listen to the court judgment.
Your Honor, today we are gathered here to seek justice for an innocent man who was wrongfully imprisoned because of the arrogance and wickedness of Mr. Desmond. This man used his wealth to manipulate the police and oppress the weak. The accused went further to demand that the wife of the plaintiff, Anita, spend 7 nights with him in exchange for her husband's freedom. This is not only unlawful, but also morally reprehensible. Justice must be served, and power must not be a shield for injustice. Mr. Desmond, how do you plead to these accusations? Your Honor, these are nothing but baseless accusations. The man was rude, and he refused to greet me. I merely taught him a lesson in respect. As for his wife, she misunderstood my generosity. I simply offered to help her. Mr. Desmond, are you saying that because a man did not greet you, you had the right to manipulate the police and imprison him for days? I only wanted to discipline him. And what about his wife? Are you denying that you demanded her presence in your house for 7 nights in exchange for his freedom? She is lying. I never said that.
Your Honor, I stand before you as a woman who has been humiliated and oppressed by this man. I swear before God and this court that Mr. Desmond told me with his own mouth that if I spent 7 nights in his house, he would release my husband and give me a house and a car. But I refused, because I fear God more than I fear him.
Your Honor, I would like to call a key witness to testify, Inspector James, the police officer who detained Mr. Richard under Mr. Desmond's orders. Inspector James, tell this court the truth. Why was Mr. Richard arrested, and why was he not released immediately? I was only following orders. Mr. Desmond is powerful. We feared him. He told us that unless he gave permission, we should not release Mr. Daniel. So you confirm that Mr. Desmond used his power to keep an innocent man in custody? Yes. It was wrong, but we had no choice. Silence. The evidence against Mr. Desmond is overwhelming. He unlawfully detained a man, manipulated law enforcement, and attempted to coerce a woman into immoral acts. This court finds Mr. Desmond guilty of abuse of power, unlawful imprisonment, and attempted coercion. The court sentences him to 5 years in prison, and he is ordered to pay damages to the victims.
I still can't believe it. For so long, we lived under the shadow of oppression, but today, justice has spoken. God truly fights for his people.
It was not just a legal battle. It was a spiritual one. Mr. Desmond thought his wealth could buy everything, but he forgot that there is a judge above all judges, God himself.
Indeed, my children, the Lord neither sleeps nor slumbers. He sees every injustice, and he lifts the humble while bringing down the proud. Nebuchadnezzar once thought he was untouchable, but God humbled him. Mr. Desmond is no different.
You both are living testimonies that righteousness and courage will always triumph over wickedness. But let this experience be more than just a victory. Use it as a platform to help others who are suffering under oppression. When you are still being silenced by fear and power, your story can inspire them to stand up for justice.
You're right. I can't keep quiet while others are suffering. We were victims, but now, we must be voices for the voiceless. Pastor, Lawyer Felix, we want to start an organization to help people facing injustice. We may not be rich, but we have our faith, our testimony, and a heart willing to help.
Yes, let's make sure no one else suffers what we suffered. If there's anything this experience has taught me, it's that no man is too small to fight for justice when God is on his side. May the Lord establish the work of your hands. May he make you instruments of righteousness, lifting those who are oppressed. You have walked through the fire, but you have come out refined. Now, go and be the light in the darkness. How did I get here? I was once a man of great influence. People feared me, bowed to me, and obeyed my every word. I thought I was untouchable, that my wealth could buy anything, even justice. But I was wrong. So wrong. I destroyed lives. I made people suffer just because I could. I locked up an innocent man for no reason. I tried to take advantage of his wife, thinking she would trade her dignity for her husband's freedom. I used my wealth to silence the law, and I thought I would never face the consequences. But no one can fight against God and win. Yes. That was me. Arrogant. Proud. I never thought a day would come when I would sit in a prison cell, talking to myself in regret. But here I am. Now, I have nothing, no power, no influence, no servants, just me and my guilt. Oh, Lord, I have sinned. I have done terrible things in my life. I oppressed the weak, acted as if I was above the law, and never cared about anyone but myself. But now, I see my foolishness. I see that no man is greater than you. I deserve this punishment, but please, God, do not forsake me. Forgive me. Change my heart. Teach me to be a better man, even if I must spend these years in prison. Have mercy on me, Lord.
And finally, the story of Mr. Desmond teaches a profound lesson about the dangers of pride, the abuse of power, and the inevitable consequences of oppression. No matter how wealthy or influential a person may be, no one is above the law, especially God's law. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 29:23, a man's pride will bring him low, but the humble in spirit will retain honor. Mr. Desmond thought his riches gave him the right to control others, but in the end, his arrogance led to his downfall. His imprisonment serves as a reminder that those who oppress the weak will eventually face justice, whether in this life or the next. However, the story also reveals the power of repentance and God's mercy. Even in the depths of his punishment, Mr. Desmond realized his mistakes and turned to God for forgiveness. This teaches us that no matter how far a person has fallen, God's grace is still available to those who truly repent. Like the prodigal son, Luke 15:11-32, redemption is possible for anyone willing to humble themselves before God. His story challenges us to live with integrity, treat others with kindness, and remember that true greatness comes from serving others, not controlling them. I believe you have learned from the video. Thanks for watching and God bless you. Bye.